Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Today we're going to answer lots of your questions, weeds and trees, crepe myrtles and snakes. It's the Q&A show, just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. It's time for us to catch up on our backlog of viewer questions. Every week we get more questions that we can answer on air. We do answer them all and post the answers at familyplotgarden.com. First up today, crepe myrtles. My crepe myrtle branches have these long, thin things coming out of them. They look like small, dried out twigs. This has been going on for about 3 weeks. What is going on? And this is from Miss Suda right here in Memphis. So, Mr. D, I see you nodding your head there.
Yeah, it's an ambrosia beetle.
It's ambrosia beetle
damage. What it is.
Mm-hmm.
It'll attack lots of different plants. Prefers stressed plants, but it will also attack healthy plants.
Mm-hmm.
But the insect bores into the stem, and the little tubes that you're seeing is actually frass.
Yes, frass. Yeah.
They're pooping out, and the insect is interesting because it cultivates the fungus inside those tunnels, and it's a symbiotic relationship between an insect and a fungus and a fungal organism, and for that reason, the systemic insecticides don't help you because
they do not work.
The insect is really not feeding on the plant.
That's right.
Fortunately,
and that's a common question we get, Mr. D. It's like, well, can I use, imidacloprid? And I tell them no, because again, the beetle is not consuming plant material, just excavating out, those tunnels, and that's it.
Yeah. The thing that you need will give you some help. There are some products that are labeled to use on it. Once they're in the plant, there's not a lot you can do about it. Mm-hmm. But if you can, at the first sign of attack, and it's usually in the late winter when the plants are just about to come out of dormancy, is when you first begin to see the signs. You can treat with permethrin, it's Astro, Perm-Up, and others, Dursban. But you have to use a higher rate. There is an ambrosia beetle rate.
Wow.
Again, read the label.
Read the label.
You've got to go a little bit stronger rate. And then Onyx and Onyx Pro, and this is out of the Red Book, late March through May, or when an attack is seen, is what you need to do. Again, if you use any of these products, read the label.
Right. And the thing about the fungus that you were talking about, I think it's Fusarium fungus. It's a pathogenic fungi. It actually clogs up the xylem vessels. So of course we know about xylem, it takes water from the roots to the upper part of the plant. So when that's clogged up, then guess what?
It can kill a plant.
It can kill a plant.
Yeah.
It can kill a tree. So Ms. Suda, ambrosia beetle, not good news. Because it can definitely kill those crepe myrtles. I recently purchased some garden phlox. When I got home, I discovered the phlox had mildew. I have treated it twice since. The new growth looks good. How do I know I have really killed the mildew on my phlox? And this is from Miller right here in Memphis. So, Joellen, how did he really know that he killed the mildew on his phlox?
Well, he says that the new growth doesn't have any. That's good.
That's good. That's good.
But he didn't, I guess the old leaves are still there and they still have mildew. Well, most fungicides are preventative. So he may have to continue to spray throughout the growing season. Basically because it's going to be hot and humid here.
Yes, it
and
is.
Phlox is known to get powdery mildew. So if you have it, I would continue to spray, so then you will keep the rest of the plant looking good for the rest of the season.
Right, and I would read and follow the label of the fungicide that you will be using, Mr. Miller. And something else, the herbicide spray itself is not going to cure the leaves that already
No.
have the mildew.
No, they don't.
Right.
It's a preventative.
Preventative in nature. I'm glad you mentioned that. Can you identify this plant? It is growing in my flower bed. And this is Miss Diana Jonesboro. Okay. We know what that is, don't we?
We do. And you don't see a whole lot of it in the Deep South, although we'll run across it. It's an old heirloom plant. And it's called Lily of the Valley.
Lily of the Valley.
Lily of the Valley. A little ground cover that generally prefers shady situations. I find it in old graveyards.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Very fragrant when it's in flower.
Yeah. I remember the bell-shaped flowers. Is something that my grandmother liked about that. And it actually smelled pretty good. It had a
Oh, they're
sweet
very
fragrance.
fragrant. Yes,
Add
they
to
are.
it. Okay.
I've tried to establish it a couple of times. It doesn't like me. It seems to be really selective about its sites.
Okay. Well, I understand it probably has to be watered a lot, moist soils.
It likes
what
a
I've
cool,
heard.
moist site,
Cool.
good soil.
Okay.
Not too wet, but cool and moist.
Okay. So we don't see it that much around here, huh?
No,
That does-
I feel happy when I find it because it's kind of rare.
Okay. All right, there you have it, Miss Diana, Lily of the Valley. Thanks for your question. When can I plant elephant ears and can they grow in pots? If so, how big of a pot do I need? And this is from Miss Jackson right here in Memphis. So, when can you plant elephant ears?
They're tropical plants. They grow here. They overwinter with varying degrees of success.
Okay.
Some years they come back better than others. And in the right conditions, kind of wet, part sun and that sort of stuff, they do well. They get bigger and bigger. If they're in less favorable conditions, they get smaller and smaller, or sometimes they multiply.
Okay.
I think growing in pots is a great choice though, because
a good idea.
at the end of the growing season, you can let them go dormant, stick them in some place like your garage or an outdoor shop area like that, where they won't have hard freezes but can go dormant for the season to come back. As far as how large a pot, when in doubt with the pot, I always go bigger.
Oh, okay.
They're different size bulbs, but provided you can, I would get the largest pot you can move into a storage area.
Oh, that's smart. Okay. When you can move out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, elephant ears are pretty popular in the South anyway.
They are. There's,
you see them everywhere these days.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of cultivars. There's a one that's solid black. There's some that are dark green with white mottling. There's a type that I grew in Midtown. The lady who shared them with me called them alocasia. They're different species,
Okay.
but elephant ears have a drooping sort of habit. But the plants she identifies as alocasia actually have an upright habit. There are a lot of cultivars, and they give you they like our Memphis summers, hot and humid, and they're just striking. They really make your garden pop.
I have small holes in my yard and was wondering if I can fill those holes with a topsoil / sand mix. What do you think about that? Doesn't seem like it should matter, right? I mean, can you do that?
That'd be fine. Yeah, I mean, either topsoil sand mix or topsoil
Or topsoil
sand.
or sand, right?
I mean, anything is probably going to be all right. I'd be concerned about what's causing the hole.
Yeah,
I'd be trying to figure out.
what's causing the holes?
Yeah.
Maybe it's something digging, you're rooting that area out or whatever, and they're just trying to cover it up. Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, topsoil sand.
Okay, sand or something like that. I mean, actually, what if you had like those, the little vole holes? Can you fill those up?
You can fill them up. I mean,
probably.
if the voles are alive, they're going to clean it back out.
Clean it back out, right?
I mean, but yeah, you can do that. It's kind of effort and futility.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about those holes. I was thinking, could it be vole holes or something like
Could
that?
be.
But it's in a yard. I mean, it's no telling what it is. But yeah, you can fill it topsoil, sand, or like you said, a combination of both. It doesn't matter. There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. We really like getting questions both by mail and email from you. This week we are catching up, showing you the questions we did not get to air because of time. We continue with a question about a snake that has taken up residence in a viewer's garden. I saw this snake in my garden. What kind of snake is it? And look there. It's a pretty snake.
Wow.
What kind of snake is that, Mr. D?
That's a lot better looking snake than the copperhead that I almost stepped on last weekend while I was turkey hunting. That's a common garter snake.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
just
think.
a garter
It's common
snake.
garter snake. So it's beneficial. It's a good snake to have around. He probably eats on voles and mice and things like that. And so you need to take care of that one. Name it, feed it, you know.
He said name it, okay.
Fred.
Name it. Yeah, Fred, okay.
Fred the garter snake.
Wow, so that's our friend in the garden, right, Mr. D? Just
That's
the
right.
garter snake, right?
That's right.
Wow, and they eat what, slugs and snails too, right?
Yeah,
Just
they're
moles?
yeah, they eat a lot of stuff, but they're definitely beneficial.
Right, but we have to get people to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, because most people would know it's how would you know that's a beneficial?
Well, I know. First thing is I know the poisonous snakes that
Okay,
we have,
good,
and
okay.
we don't have but really 3 types of poisonous snakes in
Okay.
this area.
Copperhead, water moccasin,
Well, cottonmouth.
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 Which
right.
a lot of folks
Right.
call a water
Right,
moccasin.
yeah, right.
True water moccasin
Okay.
is not poison.
Okay.
But a cottonmouth and a rattlesnake,
Rattle. Okay.
yeah, we have, and there's several types of rattlesnakes around.
Okay.
And then the copperhead, cottonmouth, and rattlesnakes.
Wow,
And
rattlesnake.
all 3 of those have elliptical pupils.
There you go. Yeah, okay.
Elliptical
That's it.
pupils, like a cat eye. Fred, the garter snake, has round pupils like we do.
Right.
And all of the other non-poisonous snakes have round pupils like we do. Now, if we have any of our friends down south, down on the Gulf Coast, the coral snake has round pupils. And it's poisonous.
Oh, it's poisonous, yeah.
We don't have coral snakes up here unless
Okay.
somebody brought one up here and released it.
Okay.
But down on the Gulf Coast, there are coral snakes. So those are really the 4 poisonous snakes that we have in the United States.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Good stuff.
If the eyes, if a person can't see the eyes, can you see by the head of the snake, or is it
You
just?
can't go by the shape of the head. You
okay.
can't go by the shape of the body. You know, a lot of non-poisonous snakes have arrow-shaped heads
Okay.
or angular heads. You can go by I guess the plates of the scale plates on the
Okay.
belly, and I prefer instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
roll one over and look at his belly, I prefer to get down and look him in the eye. Now, if he coils up and goes in the defense mode, I'm not going to look very close. But if you can, there are some things that are very, very common that help you identify. Like a cottonmouth, for instance. Not only does it have the elliptical pupil, but it has a mark that kind of goes through its face, and it extends through and behind its eye. And a young cottonmouth, a real young cottonmouth, 6 inches long, it has the same coloration as a copperhead.
Wow.
It's very coppery colored. But if it's got that stripe, you know it's a cottonmouth. And so there's some things that you can, and of course rattlesnakes, they don't get rattled.
Yeah,
Of course. I mean, you
They
hear
got the
coming.
rattles.
Yeah.
All right. Last year, squash bugs drove me crazy. What can I do to stay ahead of them this growing season? And this is from Mary. So we'll start with you.
That's
Tanya.
my most hated garden
I knew you
insect.
liked that.
I hate those things. I would say, first off, scout early for the eggs.
Okay.
They're going to be in nice, neat little rows,
Yes, they will.
kind of nice little diagonal rows, and they're going to be kind of a bronzy color. And get rid of those things as soon as you see them. If you do have to spray them, spray the nymphs. The trick is to get out there early. Before they start reproducing like crazy. And I have heard that for one method, you can lay boards down in your garden or newspaper down, and at night they will go underneath those boards or newspapers, and if you get out there early in the morning, you can pick them all up and take them out.
Heard that.
Now, if you do have to spray, you need to spray a product like a permethrin or something like that. Our insecticidal soaps, once they get to be adults, it's not very effective at all.
Does not work.
No.
No. Mr. D, what do you think?
Permethrin
Yep,
is a
permethrin.
good product.
Uh-huh.
Also, there are a couple other synthetic pyrethroids out of the Red Book. Bifenthrin and zeta cypermethrin and esfenvalerate, in addition to permethrin, will also work. But again, as you mentioned on the small ones, they're a lot easier to kill. You didn't mention the organic method of using 2 bricks.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, move your thumbs.
That will work too.
I have resorted to buying yellow squash at the grocery store or the farmer's markets just because I hate those squash bugs so much, and they are hard to control.
They are tough, Miss Mary, and
Yes.
as you can see, Tanya hates them as well.
On the insecticides, you do need to follow the label.
Sure, yeah, I was
And
gonna
I
mention
noticed some of them, it says wait at least 7 days
Yeah.
between applications, and some of them you can't apply more than 8 times during the season. But in some cases, you will need all 8 of them.
Yes.
You're exactly right, because those things are tough. Something is eating holes in my green bean leaves. What is it? And this is from Sharon in downtown Memphis. All right, Miss Sharon, bean leaf beetles. Okay, they feed underside of the leaves. They like tender plant tissue.
Well, what do they look like?
They actually look like lady beetles. Some of them have stripes, some of them do have spots on them, but they resemble lady beetles. Some are tan in color, some a little orange, rusted color, but yeah, they look pretty similar, okay?
Well, that's
and
sneaky.
they eat the little holes in the leaves, of course. The plants can survive it. Now, unless you have a large population, I mean, that's going to reduce plant vigor and your yield. But for the most part, when the bean plants get large enough, they're going to develop more leaves.
Oh,
So you'll be fine, all right? Now, if you must, I mean, there's some less toxic means. I mean, you can use neem oil, your insecticidal soap, pyrethrins, okay? And then if you want to go with the contact pesticides, which some people do, carbaryl is something that you can use, or bifenthrin, you know, if you want to go that route. But I always like to stay with the less toxic routes.
oh, will that be a good case for rotating your crops? You know, when their larvae be in the ground underneath? Or?
Right, because they actually, the adult overwinters in crop residue. It's the adult. So we
clean up
always
your
tell
act, you
people
know.
to practice good sanitation, right? Because if you don't, you're gonna have neighbors, all right?
So by cleaning up, you really help inhibit their life cycle.
Yes.
Yeah. Or when do the eggs hatch?
They actually come out pretty April, late April, early into May is pretty much, you know, when they come out. Now the larva actually starts feeding, you know, on the roots first, because of course, you know, your bean plants, nitrogen fixers, legumes. So the larva is going to be feeding on, you know, the roots, the stem first, and then here comes the adult. Why are some of my vegetables bitter? Bell peppers, cucumbers, lettuces, and others always seem to be bitter when we eat them. And this is from Miss Betty in Jackson. So, why are some of her vegetables bitter? That's the D. Oh boy.
It's aggravating. It's really aggravating. I've had some experience with cucumbers that were bitter.
Okay.
But you know, it's related to stress. You know, there are environmental factors that can be come into play there. The actual thing that's causing the bitterness is always in the plant anyway, and sometimes that chemical translocates from the plant to the fruit, and usually dry conditions that just seems to happen more often under those kind of conditions. But you know, I would say be sure you keep your plants in the least stressful position as you can. Keep them watered and you know, properly fertilized and all of that, and you shouldn't have any problem. You know, it's been my experience with a cucumber. If I have a cucumber plant the cucumbers taste that way, that doesn't tend to get any better.
Wow. Okay. So it doesn't get better.
I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I would think environmental stresses, you know, first thing that comes to my mind, especially with the cucumbers, but with the rest, I mean, I would be thinking probably poor soil fertility, low pH, high temperatures, you know, would do that, not enough water. And then something else I thought about too is, you know, maybe when you have a fluctuation in temperatures, maybe, you know, it's hot for a period of time and all of a sudden, you know, it cools off for a period of time. So
That stresses things.
I think that might stress it out as well. So those are the things that come to my mind, Stefan, unless you know any other we couldn't think of.
No, unless you see some conditions that you missed, watching your plants as they grow and seeing if there's any difference. But yeah, I agree.
We have a crepe myrtle with curly leaves, even the soft new ones. The tree is approximately 6 years old. We planted several at the same time, but this is the only one that has curly leaves. It has been this way for several years, but it seems to be getting worse. Do you have any suggestions? I don't see any pests, unlike the others. It did not get the scale last year. And this is from Art in Eads.
Ooh, I wonder if
The
it's
leaves are
viral.
curled upward from the picture.
Probably like
They don't have scales because obviously he knows
Right.
about the crepe myrtle bark
Right,
scale.
obviously so.
probably chemical damage. You think chemical got on there something, the leaf begin to curl up? And where the leaf look could be a nutrient deficiency too, that the
Right.
light green leaf on the plant. So it probably got, to me, like it could be chemical burn or something drifted on there. Why, I don't know, but that's what it looked like. And also need some nutrient there, like phosphorus or
be.
something.
It could be.
Phosphorus in there.
I definitely thought it could be chemicals, and here's why. Because if you think about the chemicals that are applied on lawns, they're phenoxy herbicides, right? So they're growth regulator,
Yes.
chemicals. So anytime you have leaves that curl upward, it's dicamba causes that. Dicamba is in a lot of your broadleaf weed
Right.
herbicides.
Right.
If it cups downward, that's 2,4-D damage.
Okay.
Right? So these leaves are curling upward, which is why I think, could be wrong,
Yeah.
dicamba.
Could very
Well,
well.
it look like a chemical burn.
Because again, a lot of people use that,
Right,
in their lawns or in their flower beds to kill broadleaf.
Well, and
weeds.
people don't think about the root system extending beyond that little circle
right.
of mulch and,
That's right.
around under the tree, you know.
This is exactly right.
So it could very well be.
It could be. And something else they don't consider as well. Most of your plants, many of your plants are broad-leafed.
Yes, exactly right. So, yeah.
So I think that could be the case.
I think it would look like that,
Right.
and also a nutrient deficiency on that plant with the leaf begin to turn pale yellow.
Right.
In there.
All right, Mr. Art. So I hope that helps you out. And make sure you're scouting for those scales too, or aphids or whatever else might be out there as well. Why are the leaves on my Paracantha light green? And this is from Mary here in Memphis. What do you
Not
think
me.
about that one? Yeah, not you. Yeah, this is another one.
I think it's either too much water or not enough nitrogen, and I think I would try to amend that and see if it doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah, first thing I thought was maybe fertility. Maybe nitrogen fertilizer would help. How about conditions though? I mean, Paracanthus.
Yeah, you don't know where that is. It should be in the sun. It
Right,
should
because most of them I see pretty much are in full sun. I know they can take some partial shade, but full sun is what I normally see.
Right.
And then if you think about, well, even though we had a mild winter, I mean, I wonder if the winter may have had something to do with
Yeah.
that as well. Maybe the winter winds, maybe they need to be protected from those winds. But yeah, the first thing I thought about was soil fertility. But you're right, drainage may be an issue. Could be. And how about pests?
Right.
Could be aphids, could be scales. We had a picture, we could definitely tell.
Right.
But I can go with that. I think soil fertility, nitrogen fertilizer, something like that. All right, Ms. Mary, hope that helps you out. How can I control these weeds in my variegated liriabe? Should I wait until next spring and spread preen? And this is from Miss Royland. So we can see the weeds in there. I see smartweed in there. Looks like mulberry weed. And those weeds are tough, by the way.
They are.
So what do you think about that? How do you control? And those are broadleaf weeds.
They are, and liriape is in the lily family.
Right.
There probably are some chemicals that you could lightly treat, especially when they're young like that, and not damage your liriape, which is going to have more of a waxy foliage,
Right.
like some of the glyphosate. But I might just want a hen weed. I'm not going to leave them there. I tell you what, till next spring, because they're going to have a seed.
Yes, you are, especially that mulberry weed.
That mulberry weed's
yes,
awful stuff.
Yes, you are. There's a couple of products that come to mind. I mean, you mentioned one with the glyphosate. I would use the white technique.
Yes.
With that, just dip it. Take a sponge, dip it in a, little container solution of that, and just kind of wipe it.
Yeah.
Or believe it or not, Image can be used, and it's actually liriape is on the label of Image, so you
Cool.
can actually control broadleaf weeds. In liriape, it's on the label.
So
but
right
you have
over
to
the
read
top.
label. You can go right over the top.
That's cool.
But the thing is, I don't know for sure if it will control those weeds particularly. But you just have to read the label and see, but it does say that you can spray it over the top. And of course you can use Preen, but Preen is not a post-emerge herbicide, it's pre.
Yes.
Right.
So I would still go ahead and put it down after I get rid of the weeds, because I'm going to prevent, because we know that mulberry weeds probably already made and dropped some seed. So you're going to prevent new weeds from coming out. But those all look like annual weeds, which Preen should do a good job preventing. But first we got to kill the ones that are there.
Yeah, you got to get them out first, right? And again, the variegated liriope is on the label of Preen.
That's good to know.
Right. So you can put it around there and it will control it. And yeah, make sure you get that mulberry weed out of there, because it produces a lot of seeds.
When it's just a little baby.
Just a little baby. Doesn't take much, and you know.
It's puberty about the time, it's about yay high.
And it starts producing seeds just that quick, and with all the moisture we've had here lately, it's probably going very nicely.
Yeah.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org. And the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on questions we answered this week, go to familyplotgarden.com. Thanks for watching and keep sending in the questions. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.